Hello everybody, welcome back to Minecraft, and we're going to be going over something really quite interesting, I think, that most people don't actually talk about, which is a lot of symbolism in architecture. So let me go into my single player world, into my decor, and oh yeah, so I've been working a little bit. I've been figuring out what it's going to take for this giant tower that I'm supposed to build. For those of you who don't know, I just issued a challenge, and of course we didn't have enough teams. Well, enough teams to my liking. So I ended up building one myself, or I took one of the suggestions myself, and this is what I got. I got Golgari, which is all about death and rebirth. So I thought we're going to kind of take this piece by piece and explain why I made the decisions I did. And the first thing you'll notice is I used a lot of blackstone. So the reason is because, well, blackstone is a huge symbol of decay. It really is. From the Black Death to gangrene to just things rotting in general. They usually turn black, oxidizing, and that has to be a cornerstone of this build. Now, why did I pick such an extreme version of Gothic, which is probably the second question that we're going to have to go over, and that is because there's a lot of motion in Gothic, and if we're talking about death and rebirth, we're both going to have to move upwards and downwards in varying strokes. That being said, yeah, that's where I'm at. So when we come up here and look at one of these towers, I'm going to use this one because this one I actually flushed out better. This one, you can see that the motion is upward. Like there's things coming from the ground and they're moving all the way up, and that's kind of the rebirth, as it were, or the new life. Actually, it's very resemblant of more like a wheat, which is something that would have been a staple. And that being said, growing from the ground, we're going all the way up, and that's how we get the vertical movement, and that's how we're going to get up and down from our base of operations at the bottom, right down there. This centerpiece itself, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to put in there. I'm thinking I want to make this something like a giant clock. Just because if we're looking at it in terms of a giant clock, then it's kind of just, it's more pushing the idea of time and of cycles, because a clock goes around in a circle. It's just a cycle. Where we have the beginning of life, things die, other things come through, and everything gets rebuilt, and then only for things to die again, which is just kind of poetic. I think I like the clock tower idea. The other thing that I have going on here that isn't seen is I'm going to be using a lot of mossy cobblestone and mossy stone bricks, and a lot of this is actually going to be taken over by this. I don't have quite, I didn't quite put those in yet, just in case I had any other ideas I wanted to do with the main structure first. But the idea being, so in biology, there's kind of a battle going on, one between plants and algae and photosynthetic beings, and the fungi, the ones that break down, and because literally two of them can't break down the same thing at the same time. They can't process that, at least in a way that's beneficial to them, because you want all the food to yourself. So something like penicillin and things like that, they all function on the idea that a plant or a fungus fights a plant and a plant fights a fungus, the bacteria is fought off by using a derivative of a fungi that's going to push back on it. So what I want to do is I want these plants to kind of wrap around and basically support a lot of this. I want them to like come over here and support parts of this. I want them kind of all around when it comes to the actual detailing. I'm going to put a bunch of plants in, and around the plants I want to use all the mossy cobble and the mossy stone brick, which is going to look a little weird. But what I want to do is I want to take these blackened areas and kind of come around on them with like mushrooms or some sort of fungi, and then maybe more specifically around the fungi use crying obsidian, things like that. Maybe some weird lighting. I just want to make sure that there's enough detailing there to make it look like, hey, it's being broken down, but it's also being re-enveloped and it's going to stay where it is specifically because of the life growing on it. So that's that. The only other thing that I really wanted to go after was this main design right here. As you could probably tell if you've seen the challenge video itself, this was based on one of the reference materials, and I think that it was very important in showing one specific thing, which is the use of verticality. So again, we have the regrowth going here, and this is the decay, where everything is being dragged back down to the earth, and that is kind of just the more drippy, gross, oozy, like pulling back down is very indicative of everything returning from whence it came, which just helps that much more with the symbolism of things. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. Hopefully you all have enjoyed. If you wanted me to, I could go over another style of building. For example, I wanted to go over Is It is a faction based around gaining knowledge and kind of chaotic, more experimental stuff like that. So it would not be as symmetrical. For example, this is not going to be a symmetrical design because death and rebirth obviously are two sides of things, and so there's going to be one side. So it's going to be essentially balanced because, death and rebirth, like, they both have to go hand in hand, but they go hand in hand in very different ways, and the crossover is going to be a little weird. But something like Is It, where it's all about just impromptu adding more and more and more, and what is that lighting glitch? How is this? There's nothing here. I think I broke the game, guys. Okay, that's interesting. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. If you guys have, I think I'm going to go over some more things when I get there, when I end up putting more details in this, at least in my testing world, and then probably like a long stream trying to put this thing together in the build itself, or for the build itself in Tazcraft. So I kind of wanted to go over that real quick. I know people are probably going to have questions for me. I'm more than willing to answer questions. Whether or not some ideals can be brought forth with shapes, there's an argument. So like, I'm going to put this out there. So like Law and Order, you're going to see a lot more balance. There's going to be a lot more open space. It's going to be more, I wouldn't say intimidating, because let's face it, like, death is far more intimidating. where Law and Order is more structured, so you're going to see a lot more general design rules being followed to the T. So that's one way to look at it. I mean, there are plenty of other ways to look at it too. For example, let's just say, so things like Demir and I know I said like secrecy and stuff, but you also could take it the control route, as it were, like just trying to make people follow your views or ideals or whatever, and that's just another way you can look at things. But I mean, a building like that, you'd see mainly like a thieves guild. They would technically be more rogue-like. Again, in the shadows, or let's say the Death and Destruction one, the Rakdos, being more along the lines of progressive. I wouldn't say abandoned, because they're actually more likely to be rebuilding. So like, if there is damage, like let's say this is a hole in the building, it was done by an act of war or an explosion or something. Instead of it being just a normal hole, you'd see them patching it up in a way to utilize it for more war. So you'd throw a wall up, and then you'd have other things built in there for attacking purposes, or for essentially, like, Rakdos would be like more asymmetrical and more function over form, because you don't need a tower to be perfectly balanced to output flaming balls of fire, or to commune with some deity. Like, you don't need that. You just go for it, right? So Rakdos, I think, would be just more hectic. I know war itself is more gruel, but just the sacrifice and the use or the attempt to get power from literally any means necessary, just is just what it says on the tin. Like, it's from any means necessary. So any sort of loss, you're gonna have to patch up in some sort of makeshift way, and then move past it in a way that is beneficial to you in the short term. Long term, which is why Black Red is considered chaotic, is because it's just go right there. So, like, you have to think of what the function of your building is going to be first, which is why when I made suggestions was putting references up first, because in a lot of those there's function to what I posted. There's also an argument for applying something to a function. For example, applying the idea that this building, for some reason, needs it's like having to apply something afterwards. So, like, okay, how do I make a municipal building for something that's chaotic? Like you really can't. But it is a way that people do brainstorm and come up with some really, really good ideas. So I don't want to limit that. But usually when it comes to creating symbolism itself, you really have to pick a theme that already exemplifies one of your criteria, right? So again, like, why would I pick this to be a clock tower? Well, it's the passage of time. Clock tower runs in a circle. and it's on repeat forever. It's not like you want to put an individual calendar up, like, oh, well, this is going to be the day. No, you'd want it to be something with cycles. So, again, a clock works perfect for that. And, I mean, there are other things that would work perfect for it. For example, running some sort of graveyard would be fine. That being said, because then you can have death itself being just the graveyard itself, or mortuary or whatever, but then you'd have to have it being reclaimed, and those kind of ideas do not lend themselves to being towers necessarily, so that's going to be a flaw in that plan. I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think it lends itself that way. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If there are more questions about things that you can be doing to better your building prowess, please let me know. I'd love to be able to kind of go over some more of these. If you want to see more about the ins and outs of me designing this, also let me know, because this is going to be quite the project, let me tell you. Not gonna be an easy one, but yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and until next time, take it easy.